right, good morning, folks. Thanks for joining me this Wednesday at 9. We will be doing a new workout today, so make sure you have a set of dumbbells, and that's it. Body weight and dumbbells is what you need for equipment. Let's get into the workout. Step back with overhead reach to begin. Keep those arms nice and straight. I know you knew I was going to say that, so keep them nice and straight as you pull the arms back, draw the abs in, and stand through the heel of the front foot as you come out of that lunge. Bend the back knee per usual, pull the abs in. Arms stay straight as you do those two things. Pull the abs in. Now squeeze the glutes as you push through the heel of that front foot. Let's do one more on each side. Then we're going to simply cross the arms into that lead leg. Last one here. Keep stepping back, but now arms cross into that lead leg. Do try to keep the arm nice and straight that is crossing in front. And try to keep your shoulders square too, so you're not getting too much rotation through the spine. Try to think of your spinal column staying forward as you're stepping back and rotating. That way you get more of a release through the back of that shoulder, that upper back, on the front arm that is crossing in front of the body. Let's do one more on each side here. We'll do some butt kicks and some butt kicks. We'll switch to high knees here in just a moment. Let's go ahead and do a couple more butt kicks. How about those high knees? Drive them up, way up. Let's get that heart rate going a little bit. Hold a squat for me, some reverse arm circles. Feet a little wider than hip width to draw your abs in. Squeeze your glutes. Make sure your arms stay nice and straight as you are going through your shoulder flexion here. Try not to rotate, just like I was describing on that lunge when you're crossing the arm in front of the body, but same thing here. So as you keep your shoulders forward, feel the upper back muscles pulling the arms open. Right, so again, like we're not working so much on transverse rotation here. Pull the abs in, squeeze the glutes, and then feel the shoulder blades, particularly along the flank of the spine. See if you can feel those muscles contract as the arm comes high and wide around the side here. Let's do one more on each side. And we're going to do step back overhead reach again. So here we go. Step back, get your arms up nice and straight. Pull the abs in, squeeze your glutes, weight through the heel of that front foot. Continue to straighten your elbows. All right. If they do want to bend a little bit, mine do too. Continue to try to straighten those elbows. Remember, bend that back knee. Push through the heel of the front foot. We're going to cross our arms into the lead leg. We'll do one more here first, though. Now let's cross the arms into the lead leg. Once again, keeping those shoulders forward. Trying to keep that arm in front of you straight. So you're not doing a lot of bending. Straight arm as you cross. Keep the shoulders forward. Let's do one more on each side. And we'll do those butt kicks again. And how about some butt kicks? High knees. Here we go. Way up. Knees up. Up, up. Hip height. You know that. Get them up. That's a little more work. Get the knees up. Hip height. Let's keep going here, and we'll hold that squat again with those shoulder flexion. So again, drawing the abs in, squeezing the glutes. Make sure you're staying nice and upright through the spine. Keep your arms nice and straight. And then as they flex around, try to keep them as close to midline the arm as possible. So you're not doing it here. It's a big circle. Now, as your shoulder mobility improves, your circle here, the efficacy of this circle will improve, certainly. So just kind of work on that right now, just staying as wide as you can with the arm as it comes up, right along the side of the head here, and then wide around, feeling those upper back muscles really contract. Try not to rotate to the torso. It's going to get other muscles involved. Let's do one more on each side. Last one here right now. You got it. Okay, shake that out. We're going to grab our dumbbells. We got some squats here. Dumbbell shoulder squats to begin. So 3s or 5s, what have you. Well, let's begin. Start squatting. So up and down here as we squat. I think you already know the cues, but I'm going to continue to reinforce good form through cueing. So sit back with your abs drawn in. Squeeze the glutes on the bottom of that squat. So when I am here, when you are here, see if you can feel the lower portion of your butt contract. You want that to tighten, and that's what lifts you up. Make sure your hips don't tilt forward. I talk about that a lot, but I see that a lot. So if you feel like this is you, Really emphasize this, because this here corrects for this part, this type of back. So if your back tends to fall or arch because your hips are falling forward, we want to strengthen the glutes. That'll put you in a more neutral position. But also, you need to strengthen those like pelvic floor muscles and those lower abdominals. You got 10 seconds here, so just bear with me here. As you just pull the abs in to strengthen front core, use those glute muscles to, again, ensure that back is in the proper position here. Let's do one more squat here. Then we got push-ups. Go set your dumbbells down. We will transition to push-ups. I will show you face on. So just toes or knees, whatever is your will. Pick a flavor that is appropriate in difficulty, and then just try to press for that full minute. Again, if you fizzle out and you need to just hold a plank, even just hold a plank for the knees, that's fine. But in the meantime, you're probably not there yet. So continue to push up. Make sure the head is not falling forward. Obviously, a push-up works basically every muscle in the body, but it's really quite taxing on head, neck, and shoulders. So the head likes to fall forward here, especially as fatigue sets in. And you need you to maintain that proper plank posture, proper head posture as you go through the push-ups here. Let's keep going here. You got just 5 more seconds. Let's do one more push-up. You got it. Now grab your dumbbells again. Yes, this is going to be difficult with dumbbells, but just do your best. So I want to do an extension exercise. So we did something like this last Wednesday, but we're going to be doing range of motion this time. So you're up, hold for about 2 seconds with your dumbbells, back down. Join me. Again, keep your legs squeezed together. Lift, hold for that second, and then release. Continue to go. Try not to spend 10 seconds on the floor as you're recovering. I get it, but get off the floor and back down. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. Keep your arms nice and straight. Now see if you can lift the legs a little higher. As you lift the legs a little higher, what about your torso, right? It can go higher. And then back down. Yes, it can go higher. You can improve at extension. This is extension. The reason I like these extension exercises so much is they really improve posture. It's a lot of work to improve your posture, I'll acknowledge it. But here we are, working hard. You got one more here. Let's get as high as we can. Here we go. Lift the legs. Now lift the arms. Lift, hold, release it. Good. Back on our feet. Keep the dumbbells in your hands. Shoulder squats. We are starting things off with a bang. Some pretty good exercises, at least full body exercises, using essentially every muscle in your body through these movements. So gets that heart rate up. And right off the bat, I like that. Anyway, keep moving. You can see I'm kind of squatting pretty quick here at about 1 second or 2 per squat. So try to match that speed. I do want that heart rate coming up. So it's going to further exacerbate the fatigue you're already feeling. And that's okay. I want that fatigue. But then I want you to tune in to your body awareness so that you don't lose form as fatigue sets in. And again, where you're going to lose form is generally by falling forward. We got 15 seconds here. Just continue to rep though. Staying upright. Broad to the shoulders and chest. You know that. Keep your wrists straight. I know they're bending. I know they're bending. Keep your wrists straight. Then pull your arms open. Okay? Let's do one more squat here. And then we got some push-ups. I'll show you side view. So here we go. Just transition right away. Whether you are on your knees or your toes, it doesn't matter. Pick what is challenging, but also what you're able to maintain form. So plank form, right? If you see my body here, it's in a nice straight line from crown of head to my heels. You want to maintain that position. As soon as you go through a push-up and your hips do this, you've lost form. As soon as you've done a push-up and your shoulders do this, you've lost form. Or your head comes forward, you've lost form. You need to be able to keep your shoulders back and down, your hips slightly tucked with your abs drawn in, while legs stay straight if you're on your toes. And again, even just holding this position requires a fair amount of muscular contraction. You have 15 seconds. But if you can do that and still manage a couple arm movements at the last 5 seconds here, let's do it. Let's do 2 more. 1, and then last one. Nice job. Okay, grab your dumbbells again for me. Let's do those prone extensions. Again, this is a full body extension exercise. You are extending through your feet, your knees, your hips, your entire spine, your shoulders, your elbows. The only thing not is the wrists. The wrists aren't extending. However, aside from that, yes, everything is an extension on this exercise. And like I was saying, the reason I like extension exercises so much is they really improve posture in time. Keep working. As high as you can. Challenge yourself. Lift higher. lift. Again, irritating exercise. It's a crazy amount of work to barely move. 2 more. And then last one here. Up, up. Good. Set those down. Let that go. We're going to do a supine bear hug. So no dumbbells, but you probably deserve this transition after that. This is flexion of the body. So kind of opposite. This is actually a really complementary movement to that extension. So take advantage of this right now by imprinting your spine. So let go of all that tension you just generated. Now I'm doing a bear hug again this week by grabbing my knees and pulling the shoulders down. I think most people have a better time kind of understanding the cueing from this position versus this, because this requires a lot more mobility through the upper back. And so when you just grab at your knees, it makes it a little easier to start to sense like, hey, how should my spine, head, neck, and shoulders feel? Because I don't have to stretch as much to completely bear hug yourself. However, if you do have that really good upper thoracic mobility, you feel like your shoulder mobility is really great, and you can get those elbows around the knees while still keeping your shoulders down, right? So if you're grabbing here, but your shoulders look like this, and that's partly why I'm showing you this exercise. It's just as effective doing a bear like this, as long as you're able to still imprint those shoulders back and down, reaching the crown of the head that way, trying to tilt or push your tailbone down as you pull your knees in. Make sure your legs stay in their lanes. So that means the heels aren't in closer to midline than the knees. If you look like this, I know you can't see me face on, but you can see from the side. If your knees look like this with your heels in, you're doing it wrong. All right, so straighten the legs now. Keep them nice and straight. The start position is this position. So again, no dumbbells in hands. What we're doing is a dual leg extension and flexion. Now that's a full range of motion. My back stayed flat to the floor. Again, start doing the reps with me now, but if you need to shallow the range and it looks like this, it's fine. Literally, it's fine. Again, I will show you full demonstration, but my back is staying imprinted. Right? I am flush. The reason I'm flush is because that psoas muscle that runs, again, anterior of that lumbar spine, that muscle is stretching, while my abdominals, core muscles, are able to contract in towards pelvic floor, towards spine, and making sure that I'm imprinted, which means stabilized. The spine is stable as I go through the range of motion with the legs. But if you're not there, again, because you don't have quite the stretching ability through the lumbar spine or maybe the strength through the lower core, hey, that's okay. So I got 20 more seconds to practice here. So again, that's okay. If you need to just shallow your range where it looks like this, it's fine. There's no foul. You need to find what range of motion works to match the intensity that is appropriate to you. Again, that's kind of the benefit about doing all of these calisthenic or these bodyweight style exercises, is that the difficulty comes through, the intensity comes through range of motion. That's a lot harder than this because the lever at the hip is here and my legs are heavy, and I'm fully extended out. So are yours. So again, just find what works for you here. Let's do one more after this one. Then we go right back to that bear hug. Go ahead and let that go. And again, actually really complementary to the hips. Since working through that extension and flexion with a straight leg is quite demanding on the hips, let's go ahead and release the back of the hips right now. So with me, you can grab the knees, pulling the knees in towards the shoulders, but making sure the shoulders are going towards the hips. So think of that. Think of the back of the shoulders going towards the hips as the knees go towards the shoulders. Now with the hips, try to tilt them like you're trying to arch your low back. It's not going to be able to arch because you're pulling your knees in. It's kind of like a counter lever to what you're doing with the hips. Again, you're trying to tilt your hips. So you want to arch your low back right now. Again, it's not going to happen because you're pulling your knees to your shoulders. Now with the shoulders, make sure they're sitting together and they're towards the hips. Don't forget about the hips. You are trying to arch your low back. You're trying to tilt your hips. But as you tilt your hips, don't lose tension at the knee. Keep pulling the knee in towards the shoulders. Make sure the shoulders don't shrug as you pull, because I see this a lot. Don't do that. You want to pull down. That's actually what's going to cause length of that cervical spine. Go ahead and let that go. Straighten your legs, arms up as well. Dual leg extension and flexion. Now, by the way, I'm keeping my legs separated here about 6 inches, so legs are in their lanes, hip width apart, and I am flexing my heels really hard. Be mindful as you go through your range of motion here, because I can feel this subtly on me, so I assume subtly on you too. As I lower down, you're going to want to externally rotate a little bit with the legs. Maybe not, and that's fine. But just be very mindful that, again, the leg is not excessively externally rotating or internally rotating. But Just they're forward in their lanes, staying straight. The leg as straight as you can. Yes, I get that your knees like to bend. Try to straighten them. Try to just get into this position. Even if this position is tough and you have to be like this, it's fine. It's okay. It's a small movement, but it's still an effective movement because you're still working, you're still engaging the same muscles, which will elicit the muscle response for you to do this in time. Okay, maybe not today. So again, take your modifiers. And like I was saying, the nice thing about doing all these bodyweight exercises is that really the intensity is based on your range of motion. And your range of motion is just limited by your own movement ability. So again, just practicing this stuff will improve your movement ability, which will improve your range of motion and the intensity of the exercise. Let's do one more here. Last one. You got it. So on our feet, we're going to do another bodyweight series. I want your left leg split squat hold with the dumbbell shoulder abduction hold. Not a dumbbell, I'm sorry, but just arms stay nice and straight. So again, just a bodyweight exercise. Go ahead, join me now if you haven't already. Obviously, I'm showing you this face on. But with your arms right now, we'll start with the hands actually. Make sure the wrists stay nice and straight. Keeping your fingers together. I want you to, wrist straight. I want you to now focus on your elbows straightening. So they're probably here. Get them a little straighter. Now let's work down that chain. I want you to pull your shoulders down. Don't forget your hands. Don't forget your wrists. With those elbows straight and your shoulders drawn down, now pull your arms back. As you pulled your arms back there, your head came forward. I know it did. Keep your head back as you now pull your arms back. As you pulled your arms back, your low back wanted to arch. Get rid of that. Pull the abs in. Tuck those hips under. But what about the elbows? Those elbows just bent a little. Straighten the elbows. Now pull the arms back again without arching that low back. Don't arch the low back. Continue to hold the position as you draw your abs in. Straighten the elbows again. Pull the arms back. Pull the abs in. Squeezing your left glute in particular. Squeeze your right glute now. Don't forget about the elbows. Straighten them again. Pull the arms back. Pull the head back. Draw the abs in. You got 5 seconds. This is a long minute. Hold. Hold. Straighten your elbows. Hold. Good. Come out of that. Nice job. Standing forehead to knee, left side. Easy transition. Legs stay forward in their lanes. Try to get your forehead to your knee. I'll just cue. And as you're driving your forehead towards the knee, I'm going to show you from the side. I want you to really focus on that flexion of the spine. So again, really flexing, pulling abs in. Try to get that forehead to the knee. If you need to grab behind the leg to help with that flexion of the spine, this is flexion of the spine. What you're seeing me doing is called flexion. If you need to grab behind the leg to assist with that flexion, please do so. If you've got nice mobility and you can straighten that front leg without rotating your hips must stay square. That is key. That's like doing a push-up incorrectly. So stop doing the push-up and just focus on the plank. In this instance, focus on the hips staying square versus getting the hips to cant just so you can get your forehead closer to the knee. That's wrong. So get your forehead further away from the knee and make sure that your hips stay square. Find the range of motion that is appropriate for you so that as you improve doing this, you're assured measured improvement because you're always consistent with how you approach the movement. So again, right now, hips staying nice and square. Try to drive that forehead to the knee as you pull your abs in. Really pull your abs in. Really pull your abs in. And then tuck your hips under. And go for it. You got about 10 seconds here on this side. Keep drawing those abs in. Squeeze the upper inner thighs together. Now try to push that left hip back. Really push that left hip back. And go ahead, come out of that. Now we're going to do the other side, the right side. We're going to hold that split squat, but this time we're going to do a little movement of the arm. Just the abduction. I really do like abduction as a movement for the shoulder, head, neck, etc. So here we roll, abs in, anchor your hips into a nice low position. Keep the arms nice and straight throughout as we move. So we did something very similar to this last Wednesday. I really liked the series. I wanted to do a series again, but just with a little slight modifications and a couple of movements. So here we are, holding that split squat position. I want you to bend that back knee a little more, just to sink down. Because I can feel myself wanting to stand a little higher. Why? Because it's easier. Sink into the hips. As you sink into the hips, make sure that the low back does not arch. As you hold that position, you got about 25 seconds. Abs in, arms straight, head, neck, nice and long. Don't let that head come forward. Don't let the shoulders shrug. You must keep your shoulders down, head back as the arms come up. As the arms come up, your elbows start bending. I know they do. Don't let them bend though. So straighten the elbows as the arms flex towards overhead. Pull them back, but make sure the head doesn't come forward. Keep the head back as you pull the arms back. That'll ensure that the upper rotator cuff is particularly engaged and you're still able to maintain length through the back of that neck, so that cervical spine. All right, go ahead, come out of that. Standing forehead to knee. Let's do the right side now. Push your right hip back. making sure that you keep the hips square forward. And then from there, you can start rounding through that spine with the intent of getting that forehead eventually to the knee. And then from there, start straightening that front leg. So again, make any accommodations that you need. I think I've done an okay job of explaining the general premise of this stretch. So square hips, flex the spine over, pull the abs in, really pull the abs in, and then catch your back. If you need to grab behind the leg to help cat the back, to help assist with that, that's fine. Now don't let the hamstrings, don't let the calf muscles, don't let these muscles behind the legs become so overwhelming that they're limiting your ability to square your hips or to get any flexion of the spine. Once again, this is flexion of the spine. So again, back off on some of the stretch intensity that you might be feeling here if you feel like it's limiting sensation elsewhere. And that's a really important just a point. If you feel like in some movement, some part of your body is so intense, you need to back off so you can get a better sensory input from everything else. Because you should be able to tune into the whole kinetic chain here. Got about 10 more seconds as you hold this stretch in particular. And really with every exercise, you should be able to kind of feel and tune into your entire kinetic chain. So if you feel like, once again, a part of your body, let's do the series. Here we go on the left side. If you feel a part of your body is like over chatting, it's talking over, it's making so much noise that you're not able to then sense other parts of your body, you need to back off on intensity. And again, that's just a good signal to just be aware of and pay attention to. Because even with me, there are parts of my body that I struggle with more than others. And so they can tend to be more like overwhelming in terms of my own senses of the movement. And so just start to notice that. Maybe there's a particular area of your body that tends to just overwhelm. Well, back off. Back off on that area so you can start to sense other areas. And what's kind of interesting about that is as you back off on the most intense areas of your body, you actually, through that backing off, actually are able to gain sensitivity after a couple weeks of not constantly exacerbating the intensity of that part of your body. So just things to look out for. Back off a little bit. See what that does for a couple weeks. My suspicion is it's going to actually make your sensation towards that troubled area even better. So things to look for. Anyway, let's go about 15 more seconds. Keep your arms nice and straight. Pull your abs in. Tuck those hips under. Straighten your elbows again. Pull your arms back. Now sink down a little lower for me. As you sink down a little lower, you need to straighten your elbows because your elbows just bent as you sank down. I know they did. Straighten your elbows and then sink down a little more. You got 5 more seconds. Pull the abs away. Don't arch the low back. Squeeze both your glutes. Hold. Elbows straighter. Arms back. Hold. Good. Go come out of that. Standing forward knee. Left foot forward. Yeah, your thigh should definitely be talking to you. But now we can release, certainly the back of the leg in this case. So go ahead, standing forehead to knee. Squeeze your upper inner thighs together. Now, my feet are forward. You can see that. Try to keep your forward feet as well so that back foot's not turning open. Yours probably wants to, but I want it to stay nice and straight because I really want you to focus on a little stretch of that lateral portion, particularly the outside portion of that back leg. So this will release a little more effectively if the feet stay forward. Not the end of the world if the toe turns out, but again, if the feet are forward, it probably means the hips are more square or more easily to stay square. So keep your feet forward, square neutral hips. Likely what that means is you're gonna have to push your left hip back as you squeeze your upper inner thighs together, tucking your tail, pulling your abs in. Wherever you are in range of motion is fine. Find what works for you. Pull your abs in. Squeeze your upper inner thighs. Pull your abs in. Squeeze your upper inner thighs. Hold. Let's come out of that. All right, we're going to hold that split squat now, but on the right side. Here we are. And then doing a little shoulder abduction. Again, bending the knee, but now moving with a little range of motion this time with the arms rather than holding. Bend the back knee again. You're going to want to stay about a 90-degree angle at that back knee. Keep the arms nice and straight. Again, particularly as the arm gets above this plane of the shoulder, you're going to notice lots of elbow bend. Try to resist that. You need to focus on straightening the elbows, but keeping the shoulders down. That's another key component of the elbows staying straight. It's great that you can straighten your elbows, but if your shoulders do this, that's not what we want. You want to be strong through the shoulder and then cause the stretch through the arm. Think of it that way. Shoulders being pulled down towards the flanks of the spine. This requires strength to draw in. You're stronger here than you are here. So use that strength and then anchor that strength to then generate the stretch through the arm. Straighten the elbows, but don't lose your strength. Okay, let's keep going here. You got 15 more seconds. I know it feels like a long minute. Bend the back knee a little more as you pull your abs in. Really pull your abs in. I know they feel drawn in, but why not draw them in a little more? Drawing your abs in will create that lift, that lower spine. It actually makes it a little easier then to gain or to contract the upper spine, which is what we're doing. All right, one more. You got it. Go ahead, let that go. We're going to grab our dumbbells now. We got a wide stance, hinge at the hips. So I'll show you this face on to start. Hands are just going to come in front of you. You notice my feet are a little wider than hip width. Toe slightly turned out, about a 30-degree angle. If this is 0 degrees, about 30. And then from there, I'm just hinging forward. Now, I want to really focus on the contraction of the lateral chain today. So again, as you are hinging yourself back up, feel a line of tension on the outside portion of the backside of the leg. That's the lateral posterior chain. So from, again, outside of the heel, up through the outside of the leg, into the lower glute, into that glute max. Use that glute max, draw the abs in, use that glute max to then push your hips forward. Try to keep tension through, again, that lateral chain throughout. So even as you're in this position, I want you to squeeze your glutes. See if you can get into this full flex position at the hips. And can you contract your glutes? If you can't feel like you can really contract your glutes here, and I mean really contract your glutes here, then you need to come up a little higher, okay? So another little thing to think about, you got 15 more seconds here, is as you're hinging, you're not letting that spine flex forward. This is not hinge at the hips. This is just flexion of the spine, okay? My hips are like not even moving, right, in terms of range of motion. So again, you want to make sure that the spine stays flat as you hinge forward. Squeeze the glutes to stand back up. All right, we'll do one more here, and then we got a little sumo squat. That's good. Squeeze the glutes really hard to stand back up, okay? Sumo squat, hands at shoulders. Feet are just in the same position as they were. So maybe not quite as wide as a sumo squat, but again, fairly wide, feet a little wider than hip width. And again, still emphasizing posterior lateral chain on this style of a squat right now. So I do want you to feel that line of tension through that posterior lateral side, backside of that leg. And squeezing the glutes in particular will help to ignite all of those muscles down the chain. So just something to think about. Likewise, if you're in this position, likewise with that hinging exercise we just did, if you get to this position and I ask you to squeeze your glutes and you're like, I can't really feel my glutes, and you're too low, okay? That's exceeding the range of motion in terms of what your brain to muscle connection is at that point. Back off, come up. I need you to be able to sense your butt fully contracting wherever you are in range. Again, if you can go here and you can feel your glutes squeeze, great, that's nice. But if you're not there, if you're here, it's fine. Get your glutes to fire, feel the glute, and then stand up. Find what works for you. We've got 20 seconds here. So again, sitting back, pulling the abs in, squeezing the glutes as you do so. Again, find that range of motion that works for you. If you're going low and you feel your hips are tilting forward, you've gone too low. That's going to turn off the glute. It's going to make it a lot harder to engage the glute. We'll do one more here, and then we're going to switch to a very complementary little series. So now we're hinging at the hips, but we're going to be close, so we're going to be more face on. This emphasizing more of the medial chain and also the middle chain of the back of the leg right now. So as you hinge, I'll show you stuff from the side view. The goal is to essentially get your back to about a parallel position. So you'd be like in that L-sit position if you were on your butt, keeping the legs nice and straight. You want to feel the inner thighs, quadricep muscles. You want to feel those muscles really engage. You're trying to be a little more relaxed to the back of the leg right now. And when you're in the bottom position, I still want you to then squeeze the glute, use your butt, and feel that butt muscle hinge you back up. You'll notice on the hinge here, the leg is pretty perpendicular. And I want to do that intentionally because we're emphasizing a little more of the medial chain. Again, think of the inner thigh muscles, think of the quadricep muscles. When your weight goes way back like this, it tends to emphasize more of the back of the leg. So I want to leg a little more forward, or your hips a little more forward as you're hinging right now. Emphasizing a little more of the inside, and again, a little bit of the front of that leg as well as we hinge. Again, keeping the back nice and flat. You get to that bottom position here, you're able to squeeze your glutes. Even if that means you're only here, it doesn't matter. Or if you're here, it doesn't matter. Your back's in a flat position, your legs are how we would want them. And then you go through your range of motion that is appropriate to you. Nice and low here. And we'll back up. We're going to do two more after this one. Try to keep the knees nice and straight, but don't lock the knee. Your leg is straight, but you feel the muscles supporting the knee. That's good. All right, so bring your hands back up to your shoulders. We're going to do a little narrow squat this time. So squatting down, but this time feet forward. So you might find that the squat on this is quite shallow because you still want to pay mind to what's happening here. And with your arms at your shoulders, it makes it double difficult to keep that spine in a neutral position. It's easier, if your hands were here, it'd be easier for you to maintain a neutral lower back. I know this. So you might have to come not quite, or you might not be able to go quite as low into that squat if you start to feel like your knee is buckling out or in, or your low back arching, your head falling forward, arms falling forward, you've gone too low. So just look out for those signs. Again, knees falling in or out, hips tilting forward, arms falling forward, head falling forward. Those are indicators when you're squatting that you've gone too far in your range of motion. Find what works for you. So again, if you're here, and you really want to challenge that range of motion, and you're able to maintain, again, your joints in the proper alignment, great, go for that range of motion. But if you're here, and you're just trying to get low, and you're collapsing, you've lost form, don't do that. Sit back, you should be on your heels, by the way, but pushing down on your big toes. You got 15 seconds, and then we'll go through the series one more time. Pulling those abs in, neutral low back. We'll do one more squat. Pull the abs in, squeeze your glutes. Good, now let's do it again. So wide on the feet, let's work on that lateral chain right now. So really designed, this one's really designed for strength of that posterior side of the body. So squeezing your shoulders back. Obviously the arms are straight, but I want you to continue to squeeze your shoulders back, even though we're hinging forward. So again, you should feel tension through the mid back, the upper back, and the low back, certainly, as you pull those abs in. And then squeeze the glutes, really squeeze the glutes. Can't emphasize that enough. That's why I keep saying it. I don't give you tautologies for my health. They're literally for your health. So squeeze the glutes to pull yourself back up. I want that to feel like that. Like as this muscle contracts right here, as this muscle shortens because you're squeezing your butt, it's that tension. You can see it. It's that literally, it's this tension that draws me up. Think of it as just the butt muscle that is drawing you up. That's it. That's all I want you to focus on right now. Make sure your knees stay straight, but again, focus on those glutes. Squeeze the glutes. Squeeze them harder. Overflex. You do want a strong butt. That is the go muscle. Squeeze your glutes to stand back up. That's good. You want lots of strong muscles, but in particular, your glute max, you want that really strong. So focus on that right now. Squeeze the butt. Make sure the knees aren't locking now. Straight leg, don't lock the knee. Squeeze the glute. Last one here, squeeze the glute. You got it. Now sumo squats. You get to still squeeze the glutes. So sitting back, drawing the abs in, squeeze the butt, stand up. Now let me show you from the side here as you go through your form. Make sure that low back, again, sumo squats in particular tend to cause the pelvis to tilt forward. Why? Because the inner thighs are tight. Maybe yours are tight. And if your inner thigh muscles are tight, if they don't stretch, they pull the pelvis forward. And again, because they attach the pelvis, but also the knee, with you going out would cause this muscle to naturally lengthen. But again, if the front doesn't lengthen, your pelvis will tilt forward. It's just biomechanics. So if that's you, start sensing, hey, when I push my knees out, what happens with my pelvis? This is body awareness. You want to know how to maintain this position as you move through range of motion with the hips, having the legs draw out. Just something to think about. So again, find that range of motion that works for you. Stay nice and upright. Keep your shoulders down. Keep your wrists straight. You can see my arms are pretty much vertical with the floor, and I hope yours are as well. Meaning they're not like this. Arms back, wrists straight. Sit back. Keep yourself nice and upright. If your body doesn't want to move this way today, it's fine. Continue to practice. It will. Give it time. Pull the abs in. Squeeze your glutes. Head, neck nice and long. Do a couple more reps here. Got 5 seconds. Let's do one more after this one. Sit back, squeeze glutes. Really squeeze glutes. Good. All right, now let's do that hinge. This time emphasizing more of the medial chain. So again, midline of the body, as well as some of the inner part. Anyway, as you hinge here, you can certainly push down hard on the big toe with this one. You'll feel a lift through the foot. I do want that. I want you to feel the arch in the foot as you go through your hinging here. Feel the stretch in the back of the legs right now. So we're trying to be a little lighter through the back of the leg right now. But when you get to the bottom, I still want you to squeeze that glute as intensely as possible. Think of the butt muscle flexing, just as I demonstrated, as what's causing you to draw up. But on the hinge right now in particular, because when legs are not as wide, we're emphasizing slightly different signals within the body. I want you to relax the back of your legs. When you were wide with your feet turned out, it was all about tension. Just give me tension. And right now, as you hinge forward, as your muscles are technically eccentrically stretching, try to relax them, try to relax them, try to relax them. Get to that bottom position with your back nice and flat, and everything's going great. Just squeeze the glutes as hard as you can to hinge yourself back up. And let's do one more. Relax the back of the legs. Relax them, just relax them, relax them. Now squeeze your glutes as hard as you can. Everything got, don't forget the abs, draw them in. Now with your glutes, stand up, you got it. Hands and shoulders, let's squat. Here we go. Feet a little wider than, or feet I would say at shoulder width, no wider, and then sitting back into that squat. So as I'm squatting here, the primary sensation that I'm getting out of this is it almost feels like there's a hollowing out effect through from my diaphragm down as I squat. And that's because of all the lengthening that is occurring through this part of the spine to allow me to sit into this position, sit back into that chair position, again, without the spine having to arch, without having to compromise. And so that's something to think about as you're going through the squat. Even if it's a shallow range of motion, I want you to feel lift from diaphragm down to the pubic bone and maintain that lift. See if you can start to sense those sensations, that lift. If you're not there, that's fine, but just continue to work on drawing the abs in and staying as expansive as you can through the lower portion of your spine. Yes, the upper portion too, but particularly as you draw into that squat. Again, like I was saying, a hollowing out effect. It should feel like that. It should feel like, oh yeah, there's a lot of room in the front of my hips to even my spine. And that's great. That's what you want to work towards. So a couple more reps here. Sit back, neutral spine, head, neck, neutral position, arms back. Keep your forearms vertical position. Keep your wrists straight. Yes, your elbows or wrists are likely bending because your arms are likely falling forward. So correct for that. Pull the arms back so you can straighten the wrists. And then keep squatting. We're going to go 10 more seconds here. I'll show you face on. A couple good reps. Just sit nice and low. All right, we're going to hold here. We're going to change up just a little hold here on the last one. Hold for about 10 more seconds for me since we're going to be on the mat here. I'm going to give you a drink of water after this. Sink down a little lower for me. Pull the abs in a little more. Squeeze your glutes. Make sure those arms are back. Stay broad. Yes, it's a long 10 seconds. Deal with it. Continue to hold that position. Pull the abs in. Squeeze your glutes. Sit back a little lower. Pull the abs in. Squeeze your glutes. Keep pulling your abs in. Like I said, you're hollowing out. Keep holding. Yes, it's a long 10 seconds. We're going to go 10 more legitimate seconds. Pull the abs in. Squeeze the glutes. Pull the abs in. Pull your arms back. Head back. You got 5 seconds. Pull the abs in. Squeeze the glutes. Sink a little lower. Pull the abs in. Relax. Nice job. Grab yourself a drink of water. And we are, like I was saying, we got a cat-cow, so get in the right position. So again, with that quick drink of water, I don't have water on me, but I'll give you a quick 20 seconds or so. And while you're finishing up there, again, a cat-cow, so cat position here, pulling the abs in, tucking those hips under, broad to the back of the back, and then contract into the cow position. You can look up to, make sure the shoulders sit down, trying to arch or extend the entire spine. And then back to that cat position. Join me now if you haven't already. I really do like cat-cow since it's all about spine mobility. And I think spine mobility is really important. I think all exercise is really important, but there's just some key areas, I would say, that we really want to emphasize when it comes to exercise and exercise modeling. And spine mobility should certainly be on the top of the list of importance. And that's why we do a lot of it. And here we are. So focus on that flexion, tucking the tailbone under as you pull the abs in, and then wide to the shoulder blades. Wide. And I'm not here. I'm not high right now. I'm wide. I'm trying to expand out. I'm trying to be as broad through the lat muscle as I can. And you do that by kind of like trying to almost imagine wrapping your shoulders around a cylinder. Like something more in front of you, and you're trying to hug it with your shoulders. Okay? You might not be able to quite do that, but again, keep working towards that. So that sensation where you feel like, yeah, your shoulders would hug half a bowl as you're going through your cat-cow here. And when you're in the cow position, I want you to tilt. This is tilting. So you're trying to push your tailbone up. This is tuck. Tilt. Try to learn that. So in a tilted position, I want you to squeeze your shoulders, squeeze them together along the flanks of your spine. Look up, keep your shoulders down as you look up. Still tilting. Keep focusing on tilting. And then do the opposite. Focus on contracting the abs in. By the way, when you're tilting your spine, I want you to relax your abdominals. But right now, you're not relaxing your abdominals. If you're in the
cat position with me. You're pulling your abs in, you're tucking your hips under, you're broad to your shoulders, back of your shoulders. You let the head just naturally fall. By the way, you don't have to like try to pile drive your neck and your chin into your collarbone. You don't have to do that on this. Just let the head fall. We'll do one more in each direction. Squeeze the shoulders. Tilt the tailbone. Squeeze the shoulder blades. Squeeze them together. And then last one here. Pull the abs way in. Broad to the back. Pull the abs way in. Draw the abs in. You got it. Now an L-sit hold. Here we go. Grab your dumbbells. This is going to be tough. Arms are up. So grabbing your dumbbells, I want you to hold perfect posture position, L-sit. So a little difficult isometric here. Again, if your legs are pretty tight because those hamstrings and those hips just don't like to stretch, and that's fine. That's why we're working on this stuff. Bend your knees. Okay, now if you're going to bend your knees, you can even see with me, as I bend my knees, my feet want to turn open. Why? Because it's less resistance. It's just easier to let them flop open. Keep your legs forward in their lanes. That'll engage those inner thigh muscles as well as strengthen the ankles a little more. So just make sure your feet stay in a neutral position. Again, if you're bending the knees or your legs are straight, I don't care. What's important is that you are sitting forward on your hips and you're not finding yourself in this position. If you're finding yourself in this position, you need to bend your knees so you can sit more forward. And again, trying to get into this position, a straight line from your hip joint through the entire spine. You can see my spine is straight. I'm not flexing back. It's nice and straight. As I straighten my elbows, I pull my shoulders down. I reach my head back. Now, if you can, you got that good mobility through the posterior side of your body. Go for it. Straighten those legs. But continue to sit forward on your sit bones. Straighten your arms a little more. Keep that head back. Pull the abs in. It's amazing how much better you will get at this in time. But this exercise, this activity alone, what you're doing here right now, flexion of the shoulders, flexion of the hips, mild extension of the spine, you getting really good at this will improve the quality of like literally every exercise you do. So get good at this. Continue to sit forward as you draw your abs in. You want to cause that lift in from pubic bone all the way up to that sternum. So draw it in like you're hollowing it out, like I was describing when you were doing that squat. Kind of similar effect here. Why? Because if you think about the position of your spine and the position of your hips here, they're technically the same. So cueing should be the same. So draw those abs way in. Keep your shoulders down. Keep your elbows straight, wrists straight, arms back, head back. Pull the abs in because you just relaxed those abs. Pull the abs in again. Now straighten the elbows. Even a little more. Straighten the elbows. Straighten the elbows. You got it. Now shoulder press. Holy cow, this is forever to hold. But here we go. We've got a shoulder press. Now, if you're fizzling out because you were holding those dumbbells that last minute, just give me the arm presses or the air presses as I'm demonstrating here. I will show you face on. Continue to press. So again, sitting forward, sitting light, legs forward in their lanes. My legs are straight because I've got the tolerance for that stretch. If you don't, simply bend the knees, but continue to sit forward. Now on the presses here, because fatigue is setting in, you got 20 seconds here. You are falling back and your arms are likely coming forward and your wrists are bending. And you're having a really hard time getting those arms straight. I get it, but continue to work towards sitting forward. Your shoulders are down, wrists straight. Get the legs as straight as you can, but sitting forward, drawing abs in, and then pressing. Let's do one more press here. You got it. And then lie back. We got a little dead bug. Nothing too terrible here. So we're just going to let that go. Keep the feet nice and flexed. Draw your shoulders down. Pull your abs in. Make sure your back of your head and neck is nice and long. We're just holding 30 seconds here. It's supposed to be a quick dead bug, but I want you to release some of that tension to the spine. Now, why did I put you in a dead bug position? Actually, just so you can get a direct sense of what traction of the spine should feel like. So this here will decompress your spine. In this decompressed position, we're going to come out in 10 seconds. I want you to do everything in your willpower to maintain the same flatness as you're going to find yourself right now, holding your dumbbells in an L-sit position. Here we go. So again, your spine right now, same position as you just were in dead bug. Difference here is you have to contract muscles in a stretched state. When you were in that dead bug position, your muscles were naturally stretching. They were decompressing. Hence, you were able to flatten to the floor. But you didn't have to contract muscles in the same way as you do right now. And this is ultimately why some movements, like when we do the floor traction exercises, you feel like you can be really good at it. It's like, I can get my spine really flat, and I think I'm listening to the cues, and everything is going great. But as soon as I put you in an exercise that maybe is like an L-sit, everything seems to start falling apart. And that's just due to your body's muscular tension getting in the way. when you're on the floor in a dead bug position traction exercise, you don't have to contract muscles like you have to contract muscles right now. And again, if you're over tight, they act as like limiting factors to being able to hold these positions. So again, just give it time, continue to just work on that proper form, proper cueing, and eventually you'll find the quality of this movement, the holding of this movement, just as good as something like a dead bug. And that's the goal, is to eventually translate the perfection that you feel you have at dead bug towards every exercise. And it will happen. All right, shoulder press. Here we go. Drawing the abs in, sitting forward, squeeze the upper inner thighs together. Try to keep the knees nice and straight. Keep that spine in that lengthened position. Again, wrists stay straight. Go through a full range of motion for me, okay? I know I like to not straighten my elbows fully. I know you like to not straighten your elbows fully. Straighten your elbows fully. And then make sure the shoulders do not shrug as you do so. Now start to see what sensations you feel most in this movement, and then maybe back up, make adjustments, right? So if your low back is like, ugh, bend your knees a little more. Okay, that does make a big difference in terms of releasing the tension you'll feel in the hips. It's tremendous actually how much it will release the hips and your low back. If you're starting to feel like, ugh, bend the knees, okay? But again, eventually as your body learns to tolerate these stretched positions with lots and lots of tension, yeah, you'll be able to straighten your legs. Anyway, a couple more presses here. You got 5 seconds. Draw the abs in. Last one here. Last press. Good. Give me a quick dead bug here. Just 30 seconds or so. And then we're back on our feet with some dumbbells. Just let it go though. And really right now, focus on that low back settling. So that L-sit position, I mean, it's hard on a lot of areas of the spine, and obviously the shoulders, head, and neck. But I would say it's most taxing on that lumbar region, because to hold that neutral position at lumbar region, it requires tension under stretch. So you're stretching a lot of the muscles, because right now you're stretching a lot of the muscles. So to hold the L-sit position, you still have to stretch a lot of the muscles. But now you have to support everything up that kinetic chain through muscular tension. So it's one thing just to release muscles right now without any tension. It's another thing to ask you to like release muscles so that they're stretched, but then still contract them really, really, really intensely. And that's what's happening in the L-sit position. Let's come out of that. So it's happening in a lot of exercises, but the L-sit in particular. Grab your dumbbells. We've got a little T-Fly here. So hinge at the hips, palms facing each other, and then coming wide with the arms into that T-Fly position. Try not to go back with the arms. That's coming in a couple exercises, but we're wide, we're to the T. So out, not back. And again, you're probably going to need to come your arms a little more forward than what you think is 90 degrees, because likely your arms are slightly extending. But what we're doing is just abduction. So I need you to literally T arms like this. Okay. Now back is obviously parallel with the floor. You can see here. I am, by the way, because my legs are forward, out in their lanes. Try to stay relaxed to this posterior side. Okay. Nice and relaxed. You got 10 seconds here. But squeeze your glutes and pull your abs in, because that supports the lengthening of the lumbar spine. You with your glutes, you with your abs. Lengthening. Good stuff. Let's do one more here. Last one. Last one. That's good. Okay, hold the squat position. We're going to stay nice and narrow on our feet, just as they were before, and then flexing up. So this is a tough exercise. This actually ties in quite a bit to the L-sit. Pull the abs in. Squeeze your glutes. Elbows stay nice and straight. Now, I'm not very low on this. I imagine you're probably not very low as well, and that's because I need your spine in that straight position. So when your arms are all the way up, it looks like a straight line from the back of your hip to your arm. Okay, if you're here, you've gotten too low on the squat. So stand up a little higher so you can get that back in the neutral position. So again, if you can keep the back neutral, fine, sink lower, okay? This is about as low as I can go. Anything lower, I feel like I need to do this. So could I improve at this? Yeah, sure. I could get a little more lengthening, a little more release happening through the back of my hips. And that's actually what I'm kind of working on myself. So again, you're going to find yourself in some range of motion that is appropriate to you. Okay, so just try to emulate the form best you can, and then start to sense what is happening sensationally as you're going through these movements. Hold the abs in, keep your elbows straight. All right, we're going to do one more after this one. And then we're going to step back, crescent lunge with shoulder extension. So last little shoulder movement here. Keep the back leg nice and straight. You're going to extend the arms back, standing up, and alternating sides. Go ahead, join me now. Pull the arms back. Pull the abs in. Keep your hips square. So again, like that standing forehead to knee we did earlier, that little stretch exercise. Right now, I need you to have your hips square forward and your toes forward. Keep your palms facing forward as you extend the arms back. And as the arms extend, they're going right along the flanks of your torso. And you're trying to, again, almost as like touch the elbows or touch the hands together behind your back. Why? Because I really want you to elicit a strong muscle contraction through the entire spine. Your lats, the rotator cuff, they all attach into that shoulder joint. So you trying to pull that shoulder joint back further will intensify the muscle contractions along the spine. And that's good. That's going to strengthen that spine a little bit. And that's what we want. You want a strong spine, much like you want strong glutes. We got 10 more seconds here. We'll go through the series again, holding that hinge position of T-Flye here first. Let's do one more. That back leg nice and straight. Good. Hold the T position. I'll show you from the side. Toes still forward. High and wide. Yes, you have your dumbbells in hands. Obviously, I'm doing this with air. So, yes, you have permission to do this with air. But I would recommend starting with dumbbells. And then once fatigue really starts to set in, fine. Just switch to the arm movement. Now make sure the shoulder's not shrugging. Okay, if the shoulder pops up on this one, because I see that a lot, the head and neck are going to be compromised, generally meaning falling forward. So again, keeping the shoulders down helps to maintain that length through the neck. But the neck affects the mid-back, and you know what I'm going to say, affects the low back, et cetera, et cetera. So again, make sure the shoulders sit down so that the entire kinetic chain is not compromised. What you do wrong at the shoulder likely means you're doing something wrong at the hip, vice versa. Pull your abs in, squeeze the glutes, because your glutes were definitely off. Mine were. Squeeze your glutes. Pull your abs in. Maybe yours weren't off, but mine were definitely off. Squeeze the glutes. Squeeze your upper thighs. Pull the abs in. Keep your arms straight. One more. You got it. Okay, let's hold the squat. By the way, these are tough movements. So even though the range of motion might feel pretty shallow on you, what we're trying to do is coordinate a lot of stretching that's happening through the lower spine. Stretching and contracting, kind of like I was describing earlier. There's a lot of that happening holding this position, but it's also happening at the shoulder position. And that's why you might feel doing these shoulder flexions and doing these squats, you feel so shallow or so limited by your body. And that's because of all the stretching and the tension I'm asking you to place yourself under to do the movement. So again, don't get discouraged, okay? Again, I'm just acknowledging that while they look pretty straightforward, like the movement itself, the exercise itself doesn't look all that bad, it's mechanically so nuanced that it is quite difficult. So again, find that intensity, or when I mean intensity, I mean range of motion, that is appropriate for you so you feel like you can properly sense and engage the muscles of your body with good form as you go through your reps. Let's do one more here. Pull the abs in, squeeze the glutes. If you can sink here at the bottom, that's fine. Hold that. Go, let that go. Let's do crescent lunges with shoulder extension. Step back with that nice straight leg. Pull the arms back, the arms nice and straight. Straighten the back knee, by the way. I know I haven't hammered quite so much on that one today. Sometimes it seems like I pick an area of a focus on the body and then I just tie in that area to basically most of the exercises. I have not really hammered on the knee today, but right now, straighten the knee. So as that back leg goes straight, push down hard on that big toe, push the knee back, pull up on that quadricep muscle, straighten that leg. Why? Because it affects the low back. That's what I've been more focused on today. The hips, at least cueing the hips. So pull the abs in, squeeze your glutes. We're gonna do one more on each side. Right here, we got a little balance series. We're just gonna finish the balance series today. Last one here. You got it. So we're gonna do a little hinge at hips hold. It's a full minute. Yeah, it's a full minute. It's gonna be hard. Hands at sides with your dumbbells. Start on your right leg today. And pointing the back toe, hold a hinge position. You have a full minute. I'm gonna see if I can turn my head. See time. Oh, can't turn the head and look. But I got the general time. So we got a full minute here. Try to keep your hips square. So a couple things you're thinking about. Now I'm starting on my right side, so are you. Push your left hip down, okay? Almost as if you're trying to drive your left hip into your upper right interthigh. Again, that'll make sure that the hips stay square. So that as you're standing here, I'll show you face on. So as you're holding the hinge position, that left hip is not twisting open, okay? You want your hips to stay square. So it would look like your hips are here, but you just happen to have one leg up. So again, trying to push that left hip down, point the back toe, Really point the back toe. I want you to feel a line of strength from your big toe on that left side all the way up to the groin, the medial chain. See if you can feel that entire line of tension. Straighten the knee on that left side. That'll help with that. Pull up on the kneecap on that left side. That'll help with that. Now my hands are on my hips here, but you're holding on to dumbbells, so they're in front just like so, and that's fine. Keep your right leg nice and straight, but make sure you're not locked at that knee. And come out of that. Now we get to the other side. Holy cow, that burns. And that should burn a lot for you too. So with your toe pointed, rotate now the right hip down as you straighten that left knee. And just hold. And you're trying to square your hips up so you can keep that spine nice and square. Now I just noticed that I was drifting a little to the left. You're likely drifting a little to the left too. Like I was saying, you want to be able to keep your torso perfectly forward as you hold this hinge position. Now reach harder through that back leg. Pull the abs in. Now I'm in a full range of motion. I'm basically at that 90 degrees with the T position. If you're not here, it's fine. Back off. Do it like this, okay? So I'll show you from the side how that looks. You got 15 seconds. I know it feels like a forever minute. But if you're here, that's okay because your hips are square. Your standing leg is straight. That's important, okay? Standing leg stays nice and straight. Again, your hips are square and your back leg is straight. So that's fine. If you have the mobility to go a little further, great. Come on, backward lunges. Here we go. Alternate sides. We just have 1 minute here. Just move the legs because that's actually quite difficult. And arguably, when you hold a hinged position, in my opinion, on one leg like that, I think that's probably some of the most effective balance exercises you can do, particularly when you hold movements like that, because obviously muscles are stretching quite intensely. You could feel all that stretching that's occurring, but I'm asking you to stabilize your joints. And that's what's so difficult, is all the muscular tension that is being caused through stretching. And so it's tough, but you want to get good at that, because if you can stabilize a single leg balance like that, you could probably stabilize most of your movement in life. And so it's a nice balance check exercise. Your range of motion at the joint, particularly at the hip and the lumbar spine. It's kind of what that checks. But it's obviously strength, because you have to be strong to contract the muscles to hold the position. So it's a nice kind of self-check in terms of stabilization, joint range of motion, and stability. So just a single leg balance. Yes, it's tough, but it is an exercise that you want to get kind of good at. And then maybe someday you'll be able to join Cirque du Soleil or something like that. Let's do one more here. And now start on the right side again. Hands at your sides with those dumbbells. Hold a full minute here. Point the back toe. You are trying to rotate the left hip into now the right, so you keep the hips nice and square. You are likely trying to drift your torso to the right. Don't do that. Stay square. Keep your torso nice and forward. Again, keep your shoulders back. Oftentimes I see people start to round to their spine on this. You're not doing that. You're actually contracting the entire spine here right now. The back of your right leg is in a tremendous stretch. That's okay. Try to straighten your right knee. Now, as you try to straighten your right knee, if you feel like your hips are coming up or you're starting to round to your spine, I want you to still straighten your knee, but then come up a little higher, because it is important that this leg, this grounded leg, stays nice and straight. That is really, really important, because then if you keep this joint, if you keep like a lamp post from your heel to your hip, if this leg stays straight, then you're assured progress in terms of the stretching and those length relationships of the muscles as you improve your range of motion with the exercise. But if you're doing it like this, you're not actually getting the length, because I feel way less tension through the back of the hips and through the lumbar spine, bending my knee a lot versus straightening the knee or forcing the knee to stay straight. So the other side here. Again, point that back toe, pull the abs in. Point that back toe, pull the abs in. Rotating now that right upper inner thigh or right hip into that upper left inner thigh. Point the back toe. Straighten the back knee. Try to straighten that left leg a little bit. I know the left leg probably feels straight, but you're probably bent quite a bit. Okay? I see it all the time. People say, oh, the leg's straight. It's straight. I know it's straight. It's not straight. Straighten the knee. Now, it doesn't mean lock the knee. Okay? I need you to feel stable around the joint. Strong at the knee means strong at the hip, means strong at the back. Okay? If you're weak at the knee, probably means you're weak at the hip, probably means you're weak at the low back. That's how you potentially injure yourself through exercise. No bueno. Come out of that. Backward lunges. Nice job. Here we go. Stepping back. Last minute here. We're just going to flush it out. And then we'll wrap it up. But let's get through there. Good job, by the way, holding those isometric single leg exercises. I think they're good ones. I think they're all good exercises, but like I was saying, there's just some exercises that I think are really vital. They're just holistic health, movement, quality, etc. You want to get good at that balance stuff. You want strong glutes. You want a strong back. You already knew those things. Let's keep stepping here, about halfway. Again, stay nice and upright, pull the abs in. Squeeze the glute, particularly of that front leg. We'll go about 15 more seconds. Pull the abs in. Head and neck nice and long, shoulders are down. You're not falling forward. Let's do one more on each side. Last lunge here. You got it. You set the dumbbells down. We will call that a day. Plan on doing a very similar workout on Saturday. Hopefully YouTube works this week. I assume it worked right now, so we'll plan on that. And looking forward to seeing you then. Thanks.